You probably figured it out from the intro. Today's video is heading straight into the world of Playboy. And tell me honestly, have you ever waited for a new Playboy issue, spent 5 seconds on the cover, but an entire hour on the centerfold? If you have, then congratulations. You and I appreciate art the exact same way. But today, we're not just looking, we're uncovering how the Playboy empire was truly built, uncovering the secrets behind those iconic bunny suits, uncovering the stories Hollywood tried to hide behind velvet curtains and bright studio lights. The images you're about to see are exclusive material. And if I get even one detail wrong, go ahead, call me out in the comments. Now, take a deep breath, because we're about to step into a world that few people ever dared to talk about. Let's start today's story by going back to the man who built the empire that shaped an entire era. In the early 1960s, while Hollywood was polishing its golden glow, one man quietly rewrote the rules of desire, rebellion, and fame. His name was Hugh Hefner, a soft-spoken visionary who dared to turn a simple men's magazine into a cultural shockwave. Hefner didn't just create Playboy, he engineered a world where elegance wrapped itself in temptation, where the bunny costume became a symbol recognized everywhere from Chicago to Hollywood Hills. And whether you love him, hate him, or see him as a mystery in a velvet robe, one thing is certain. Without him, none of us would have ever had the chance to witness the iconic women, the legendary covers, and the unforgettable centerfolds that define the 60s. So, before we dive deeper, let's give this man his 30 seconds, because every empire has a king, and this one started with Hef, a typewriter, and a wild idea no one believed in, until he proved the whole world wrong. Now, let's pull back the velvet curtain on one of the most closely guarded secrets of the Playboy empire, the training of the bunnies. These women, icons of 1960s allure, weren't just glamorous, they were crafted. Hugh Hefner, the mastermind behind it all, shaped each bunny into a living fantasy. Hair perfectly coiffed, skin glowing with health, and a bust that met the strictest standards of the bunny look. Ordinary women seemed almost incomplete in comparison. These were creatures from another world, Hefner's world, but who trained these bunnies to move, serve, and enchant with flawless precision. Enter the bunny trainer. Their first mission, make sure every woman could handle the tight, unforgiving bunny costume. They learned to maneuver carefully, keeping their attire intact and even using tricks, like stuffing paper into their cups, to avoid wardrobe disasters spilling into a customer's martini. The most notorious technique? The bunny dip, a backward-leaning move that kept drinks steady but left many with sore backs. To enforce Hefner's strict rulebook, every bunny was overseen by a mother bunny, who inspected both outfit and conduct with military-like scrutiny. Weight checks were frequent, measured with industrial scales, tools normally reserved for potatoes. The bunnies were, in a sense, glamorous merchandise. Those who failed to meet standards were shuffled out, often ending up in quarters likened to stables, waiting for the next chance. At elite Playboy parties, London, Los Angeles, and Hertfordshire, guests included Hollywood stars, the Beatles, George Best, Sean Connery, Roman Polanski, and Sharon Tate. Blue Dots granted bunnies access to upstairs rooms, where alcohol and drugs flowed freely. And yet, despite the grueling discipline, many women eagerly competed for the privilege to be a bunny, even kneeling to be chosen. It sounds unbelievable, but that is the dark, seductive reality behind the sparkling facade of Playboy's golden age. Would you like me to continue with part 3, revealing the scandals and hidden stories of these bunnies at the parties? Here's a truth many still don't fully grasp. Playboy wasn't just another men's magazine. It was the spark that lit a sexual revolution, reshaping how Americans viewed desire in the 1960s. While mainstream culture clung to prudish ideals, Hugh Hefner quietly rewrote the rules, presenting sexuality as sophisticated, glamorous, and daring. Playboy didn't rely solely on glossy images of bunnies or centerfolds. It strategically featured Hollywood stars willing to appear nude, subtly pushing boundaries while tantalizing the imagination of millions of men. Actresses like Jane Mansfield, Elke Summer, and Raquel Welch weren't just on the pages. They were carefully positioned symbols of fantasy. Their daring appearances weren't accidental. They were calculated, seductive signals, designed to make readers feel part of a private, elite world. Hefner knew exactly how to stir desire while keeping it aspirational, blending the allure of celebrity with the forbidden thrill of nudity. But Playboy's genius went beyond erotic visuals. The magazine mixed provocative interviews, essays, and humor with these images, presenting sex as an art form and a conversation, something to be discussed, admired, and envied. It invited men into a world where fantasies weren't shameful. They were celebrated. By the late 1960s, Playboy had become more than a magazine. It was everywhere. Hollywood parties, nightclubs, elite circles, even whispered in intellectual salons. Hefner had turned sex into a cultural currency, transforming private fantasies into a public spectacle, and forever changing how Americans experience desire, celebrity, and eroticism. But the real genius of Playboy wasn't just in the magazine or the branding. It was in the parties. These gatherings weren't simple celebrations. They were carefully engineered ecosystems of desire, status, and control. Playboy created nights where Hollywood stars, powerful producers, Wall Street money, and international elites mixed under the same soft, golden lighting. Every detail was intentional. The music, the drinks, the lighting, even who stood next to whom. Nothing happened by accident. And the stars. They were the bait and the bridge. Famous actresses, rising bombshells, and studio darlings were invited not merely as guests but as gravitational forces, living magnets that pulled wealthy men into Playboy's social orbit. Their presence created an atmosphere where the rich felt chosen, desired, important. For Hugh Hefner, these parties were a perfect middle ground, a transactional bridge disguised as glamour. Deals were whispered over champagne. Studio contracts drifted between hands. Investments were born in quiet corners. Playboy became the social lubricant of an elite world where everyone wanted something from someone. Some came for pleasure, some came for opportunity, and some came because they knew these nights were where real business happened. The kind sealed not in boardrooms, but in penthouses filled with movie stars, music icons, and men who controlled entire industries. Playboy's brilliance was simple. Use beauty to bind the wealthy. Use influence to bind Hollywood. Then stand at the center as the gatekeeper of both. These parties weren't just entertainment. They were the crossroads where seduction, money, and power quietly shook hands. The second secret of the Playboy empire is something far more calculated than people realize. Hefner didn't wait for Hollywood to notice him. He infiltrated Hollywood himself. And he did it with style, subtlety, and the boldest marketing strategy the 1960s had ever seen. Hefner knew one thing. If you want the world to crave your fantasy, you put that fantasy on the silver screen. So, he began weaving Playboy's image into films that would outlive the decade itself. Movies like The Playboy Advisor, The Notorious Landlady, How to Succeed with Sex, Midnight Cowboy, and even the lighter, seductive comedies of the era all carried that unmistakable Playboy energy. Glamorous women, daring scenes, and a tone that flirted with taboo. Some films even featured the magazine outright. A bunny costume casually placed in a party scene, a character flipping through an issue, or a starlet who had famously posed for Playboy appearing in a provocative role. These moments weren't accidents. They were strategic fingerprints, tiny pieces of Hefner's empire, embedded in films watched by millions. Hollywood directors loved the attention Playboy brought. Actors loved the shock value, and male audiences, they were hooked. Every daring scene, every confident woman, Every whisper of sex appeal felt like a commercial for Hefner's world, without ever calling itself an advertisement. Hefner turned Hollywood into a silent megaphone, broadcasting Playboy's identity through stories, characters, and fantasies that were impossible to forget. Decades later, we still rewatch those films, and that seductive Playboy pulse is still there, beating beneath every frame. You know, people always think Playboy was built on glossy photos and seduction, but here's the twist. That was just the surface. Behind the velvet covers and the bunny smiles, Hugh Hefner was playing a much bigger game. See, in the early 60s, America was trapped in this tight moral cage. Censorship everywhere, conservative pressure on every page, every movie, every word. And Hefner looked at all of that and said, "No, we're not doing this anymore." So he created something he called the Playboy philosophy. And trust me, it wasn't just a cute slogan. It was a manifesto, a cultural punch, a political statement wrapped in silk and glamour. Hefner used Playboy as a weapon, a smooth, elegant, dangerous weapon, to push back against censorship, promote free speech, and challenge the moral rules that had dominated America for decades. While everyone else thought he was making a men's magazine, he was actually leading a quiet revolution. And the wildest part? Most people never realized they were reading political ideas because Hefner hid them between lifestyle essays, jazz, cocktails, and, well, the centerfolds. That's how genius he was. He made politics taste like pleasure. And that's the hidden world behind Playboy. A mix of beauty, power, secrets, and the quiet deals that shaped Hollywood from the shadows. Now that you've heard the full story, do you think I'm right? If you disagree, feel free to drop a comment and tell me what you think. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more deep dives into the stories Hollywood never wanted you to know. Your support keeps this channel alive.